Imagine bumping into your favorite TV star on some random place, being starstruck for a moment, then smiling up or even trying to touch him, but instead getting a rude rebuttal, pushed away, or even
Whoa!
spat on. Would you resent them forever afterwards? These Redditors narrate their nasty experiences with their faves. From Michael Jordan to Cardi B, they each have quite a tale to tell. Our first commenter named Toni Collette as her a-hole celeb and got instant collaboration on how nasty the Australian actress could be in real life. Her words? My a-hole celebrity is Toni Collette. I work for an airline, and if we see her name on the passenger list, we are filled with dread. She's notorious. My colleague made her bed on a night flight. She ripped up the bed sheet, threw it aside, and said, "That's not how you make an effing bed." I've had my own run-ins with her too, although nothing as extreme as the above. She yelled at us for serving her the wrong type of tea when it was actually the correct one. That's very disappointing, as I really rate her as an actor, and she always comes across as warm and grounded in interviews. Clearly, she's not just acting on set. I was waiting for this name to come up. Not personal experience, though. I read an interview, that said Toni Collette shouted at her assistant for getting her coffee order wrong. I don't think a journalist would slate a celeb for no reason, but I've also seen incidents embellished to make the article more interesting. Disappointed to learn it's all true. I think this is why it shocks people so much. She will always be Muriel, and she's so good at playing the lovable, down-to-earth dork that when you see what an a-hole she is off-screen, you kind of have to respect her for being such a good actor. But you're also distraught that someone so important to Australian cinema is such a huge effing piece of shit. If you'd never expect Michael Jordan here, you're in for some surprise. B's legendary basketball superstar has some negative reputation for this too, as these guys tell their tales. My worst was Michael Jordan. I spent around 4 months in a Chicago children's hospital in the mid-1990s. We often got local celebrities who visited the hospital. Most of them came alone or with a few friends or family, but Michael Jordan walked in with an entourage, including reporters and photographers from 2 different newspapers. He refused to play wheelchair basketball with us because he might get hurt. He refused to sign autographs because his autograph was worth $200 a pop. Only pictures allowed were the ones taken by the photographer, and those were only really done with a few paraplegic teenage boys who played wheelchair basketball. He was there for maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Contrast Jordan to my 2 favorites, Chris Farley and Britney Spears. Mr. Farley came in the mid-1990s through a back door. He read to the kids in ICU or the toddlers after surgeries. He did character voices. He was the best giant in Jack and the Beanstalk when he read it to me after my scoliosis surgery. He even performed Lunch Lady Land for us teenagers with props borrowed from our lunch lady. Britney came one day in 1999 and hung out with us. We white girl danced to her songs, made and ate homemade pizza with her, and then watched a girly rom-com. When she saw that our teenage rec room was kind of sad, she donated money to redo it. I'm not surprised about Jordan. In the early 90s, my brother worked as a garage door installer in Chicago and went to work on his house. He only interacted with him once or twice, but apparently Jordan talked down to everybody working on his house as it was being built. Chevy Chase. I'm genuinely surprised I haven't seen Chevy Chase on this thread. We had a friend who threw some gala at a nice hotel, I think in Florida, and Chevy Chase was absolutely sheet-faced and started screaming that he wanted a donut. Nothing else, just a donut. It was like 2 a.m., and my friend explained there weren't really any open places nearby, and he basically threatened to get our friend effing fired. So he got a waiter to run out and miraculously find a convenience store and bought him donuts. When they presented him with one, he took one bite, threw it on the floor, and walked away. He's just low-hanging fruit. It's wild to watch him be a total a-hole in everything he's in and realize he's not acting. Some people are great around kids and not adults. Maybe he's just a softie for kids. I'm glad you had a good experience, because you're right. Every story I've ever heard about him is how much of an a-hole he is. It's strange. I live in LA and have heard a million negative Chevy Chase stories. Yet the one time I met him, he was super nice. In the mid-90s, I was taking my 3-year-old daughter on the train from LA to San Diego to visit my parents. We get to the track, and at the end of the train, there is a really cool old-fashioned passenger car.
We're early and there's no one at the door, so we just jump in and grab a seat. There's nobody inside. Within the next 10 minutes, a raft of fathers and daughters pile in. All the girls are about 10 or 11, and one of the dads is Chevy Chase. He'd rented this special car to take everyone to a special birthday party for his daughter in San Juan Castriano.
Chase's daughter sits down to talk to my daughter, who was super cute, maybe I'm a little biased, and they find out they have the same name, but spelled differently. She tells her dad, and as she does so, I get up, apologize, and start gathering my kid to move out of his private car. He tells me it's no problem, just sit back and enjoy the ride. Asked me a couple questions about who we were, was friendly, and then spent the rest of the ride talking with his friends. Definitely an LA experience. Johnny Galecki. Pre-Big Bang Theory, I met Johnny Galecki at a Magic the Gathering weekly game at a small bookstore at the mall. Nobody recognized him. I did, since he was David on Roseanne, and I was cool enough not to bring it up. He liked MTG but didn't have a deck. I offered him one of my extra decks, but as I was a poor 14-year-old, it wasn't amazing. He kept down-talking it nonstop and was rude as F. Like, you are on a major TV show and I'm a child. I was giving you a deck, not even my main one, to be nice, and you shit all over it and kept insulting me for its stupidity. The fact that they have an MTG episode was salt on the wound. I saw that witch do a mobile game ad recently. He can get shit on with that elitism BS. The amount of celebs doing those lately is crazy. I saw J-Lo on one. Courtney Cox and Lisa Kudrow are in one together. Like, they have to be absolutely set for life with Friends residuals. Why are they shilling for shitty mobile games, lol? I would expect that from C-list celebs. Pedro Pascal did one for Merge Mansion like 2 years ago, and it was really funny. I think they figured since he did it and everyone thought it was great, they should do it too. But he was already a huge deal at the time. For them, it just looks desperate because they're not relevant right now. And he played a real character in his. The others are just like, hello, I am a celebrity you know who totally plays this game, blah 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 blah. Merge Mansion is different, lol, or at least it used to be. They had Kathy Bates play the grandma at one point too. They have a whole lore associated specifically with their ads that they play into, and at least a couple years ago did it well and in my opinion was pretty entertaining. Versus now when it's a celebrity just to be a celebrity, not Kathy Bates playing a grandma who already has a full backstory filled with a rich rogue history. Did she erase her granddaughter's fiancé and then burn her house down to force her to move in with her? Did she kidnap the gardener? Was she having an affair with the gardener? Have the gardener and fiancé actually been working with grandma the whole time? Gameplay has nothing to do with this, obviously.
That was my point, though. Kathy Bates wasn't just sitting there saying, hi, I'm Kathy Bates. It was really well done, but I don't think the celebrities doing it right now realize that. I also don't know if the apps they're advertising even have a storyline. I saw someone doing an ad for June's Journey a while back, but it was just them describing the game. It wasn't entertaining at all. It's just weird. It looks like they're desperate for a paycheck. Meanwhile, Kathy Bates and Pedro Pascal looked like they were having fun doing it. Drake. I've told this story so many times, but my a-hole celebrity is Drake, and this was when he was still on Degrassi. I was working at a local movie theater in the city, and we get celebrities occasionally because we're not far from downtown. Anyway, by pure chance, not only does Drake show up to the theater, a few moments after him, Hilary Duff comes in. Because Drake was wearing a black shirt with the word security in bright yellow and I didn't recognize him, he yells at me for assuming he's Hilary's security person. He kept doing the whole don't you know who I am spill too. My manager, after I told him what happened, was also like, what the F did he expect wearing the shirt? Hilary Duff was super nice though. I guess I can call myself his first disliker then. I mean, Hilary Duff. The only reason I know it was him was from a 17-year-old coworker getting starstruck seeing him. And the funniest part is none of this would have happened if Hilary didn't come in. Would have been just a random dude catching a movie after a shift. The only reason I asked if he was is because we had protocols with VIPs. Needed to inform the manager how many people were with them and if they had bodyguards. Then let the guards know the manager would like to talk to them. Danny Masterson. I almost got in a bar clash with Danny Masterson because I cut him off. My coworkers were closing the bar and I told him we couldn't legally serve anymore. We were trying to go home. He cussed out my bar back and I confronted him about it. He played the celebrity card on me and tried to intimidate me. His friends called him down and he didn't do shit. This was back in 2017 before he was arrested. So seeing the scandal unfold later was icing on the cake because the way he talked to me and my staff was so entitled and immature. Glad he's rotting in jail. I met him at a weed shop in LA once. We were the only two customers in there. Me and the employee both looked at him and said, "Hey, you're from that '70s show." He said, "No, I'm not," yanked his weed from the employee, and walked out. Apparently, not all stoners are chill, friendly people.
These stories being about alcohol and weed are hilarious because a huge part of his case defense was that he didn't use drugs ever. That was also a key theme in Ashton Kutcher's and Mila Kunis's character letters that they sent to the judge requesting leniency. Mine was Dakota Fanning. Dakota Fanning was bored out of her mind and looked like she wanted to be anywhere else when I interviewed her for a college newspaper. I felt like a slug. Kristen Stewart, on the other hand, despite her image in the press at the time, was so sweet and thoughtful in her answers, and even told her publicist, who was trying to rush her along, to basically leave her alone while she continued to chat with me. She even remembered my name at the end and said it was great talking. I was smitten. I got to interview a bunch of celebs when I worked on our college newspaper. I interviewed Vince Vaughn at pretty much the height of his popularity, right after Wedding Crashers came out. He answered my stupid little questions with so much energy and gusto, I felt like he thought he was talking to Variety or Extra. He told me I was doing great and would go far in the industry, even though I asked him amateur questions like, "What was your inspiration?" and blah, blah, blah. I'd say Jared Leto. Leto was absolutely sheet-pissed that we were short of one can of soda that was requested by the writer, 5 Diet Cokes instead of 6. He spent 2 seconds in the green room the whole night and didn't touch anything. He refused to speak to anyone directly and tried to get tough with security when they wouldn't let some young women in the back. The rest of his band was nice as heck, though. He used to come into a restaurant I managed in West Hollywood and would so indecently touch our female staff intimately that no women were allowed to interact with him. Not our hostess, not servers, not food runners, not even the GM. I was waiting tables in a restaurant in NYC a couple of years later, and he came in with a bunch of people during brunch on the weekend, which normally had a 45-minute wait. He tried the usual, "Don't you know who I am?" and we were very deferential and just left him off the wait list. I deflected every time he asked when he was going to be seated, and eventually he just left. Avril Lavigne. She's basically an adult stuck in the junior high mean girl phase, but also a dweeb. When I was in college, she happened to walk into the mall store I worked in. She literally ran into me and then pushed me aside. She then went through the clothing rack saying, "This is sheet, this is sheet, this is sheet," and then giggled hard.
Okay, we get it. You're a real baddie because you know 4-letter words. Now please get the F off. My wife and I were booking our wedding night at a swanky hotel in our Canadian city, and we're chatting with the front desk girl. The week before, that hotel had hosted a bunch of Canadian musicians for the Juno Awards, basically the Canadian Grammys. The desk girl said everyone that stayed in the hotel had been amazing. Maren McLachlan was a sweetheart. Band Naked Ladies hijacked the piano in the hotel lounge and sang Beatles tunes all night. Nickelback were buying drinks for everyone. Everyone was amazing, except Avril Lavigne. Apparently, she was an insufferable a-hole the entire time. Oh yes, she's rude. She was nasty even at 17. When I met her back then, I was 16 or 17 too, and she was a snobby pick-me girl. Her guitarist, Mark, had been innocently hanging out with my friend and me during an Orlando show that entire weekend, and she acted like we didn't exist. Super nice guy. She won a major award that year, or the following year. I believe it was a Grammy for Best Album, and didn't even thank her band. They all quit eventually. Edit. It was actually the MTV Video Music Award for Complicated, Best Music Video of the Year. The guys were, of course, in the video and toured with her for the album. Nicki Minaj. I have 2 Nicki Minaj stories. One time, she and Drake came into a convenience store I was working at in DTLA. Their security strong-armed all actual customers so they could film a little video where Drake pretends to buy her hot chips. Another time, she was performing at Staples. A friend worked as a redcoat, or usher there, and told Nicki, "You look very pretty." And Nicki replied, "Never in your life speak to me again." Also, Machine Gun Kelly tried to lowball my friend that tattooed him. Jason Aldean. One night after a local show, he placed a huge to-go order from a local restaurant. Staff stayed late to accommodate the order. He actually picked up the order. He was very rude to the staff, left no tip. Afterwards, the staff lit him up on social media. He found out, threw a witch fit, and most of the staff was fired. Such a tough guy.
That's wild. That's exactly who I came to mention. I have to be very vague, but he came to my work a few years ago and was absolutely beside himself that no one knew who he was. He kept dropping hints the entire time and obviously wanted us to cut him a deal. We didn't, and he was rude as heck the remainder of his time there while continuing to try to get things thrown in because of who he was. LOL. I've never met a celebrity, but my aunt says Jennifer Lopez is one of the rudest people on the planet. Apparently, when she goes to restaurants, she refuses to look servers in the eye and orders through her personal assistant. She is also horrible on planes for yelling at flight attendants, apparently. And beyond that, she just glares at people and never says please or thank you. My a-hole happens to be Danica Patrick. Many years ago, I got the opportunity to meet Danica Patrick at a photo shoot she was doing for some magazine. I was 17, my dad's friend was the photographer who offered to take me along. At the time, she had her license revoked due to reckless driving. Her mom had to drive her to the shoot. Danica did not want to talk to me when I said hi, but I could let that go. She was working, and I'm sure didn't want to entertain some random kid. What made her the worst was she was so mean to her mom, constantly yelling at her and putting her down. I was so upset by her behavior. Her mom was trying her hardest to de-escalate, but Danica was just determined to be awful.